as we push, one of those remarks that I would like to make is that yes, there are successes to celebrate. There were achievements. There were there are achievements that we have made. Some of us gone into low-income housing. We appreciate the effort of Asamodia. These are models that have worked. How can we upscale them? How can we improve on them? So those are the things I want us to look at. So we are saying that we must, as a matter of urgency, begin to prioritize policies, programs, and direct actions towards bridging the identified gaps of access and recognition for the most vulnerable citizens, including people with disabilities, after-school children, internally disabled, and as well as women and youth. We must begin to focus on this category of people. These are people that will not, no matter the rate of mortgage, they can never afford it. They can never afford it. And they are on the majority. We begin to characterize development beyond the primary city by promoting regional development, planning and intervention, and ensuring physical development and economic planning to take into consideration the spectrum of women and settlement from large cities to small towns and villages. Because most of the time, our solutions were always the primary city focus, Lagos, Ibadan. And we have it on record. There is less than 50% of Nigerians that are living in these cities. So we must begin to look at regional and national head of whatever solution we are providing, because Nigerians are also in this settlement. Strengthen regulatory and legislative framework that protect the social and economic rights of all citizens, establishing clear guidelines and implementing programs for housing, urban regeneration, and proper development across the cities and human settlements, ensuring corruption, nepotism, and cronyism, while promoting the human rights approach to development, which is more equitable and democratic as we celebrate our 60th anniversary, promoting economic development opportunities for youth and women who face the highest brunt in the urban penalty, providing for effective feedback mechanism while encouraging active citizenship, investing in research and development necessary for catalyzing cities as a place of innovation and prosperity. There must be emphasis on housing education. There must be emphasis, because if the policymakers, if they lack housing education, if they lack the knowledge, there is no way they will support whatever policy we are coming up with. I believe that, let me just stop there as my opening presentation. Thank you very much, Barrister Adebayo.
Thank you, Prof. Yes, we know you as Prof, and we appreciate that. You have done a good professional job now. Now, how are we going to my distinguished Vice Chairman of Africa International Housing Show Board, Mr. Akeem Oguniro. This time, I will not want it to be too long so that we can go within the time. Thank you, my Vice Chairman.
To wish us a happy independence, and I'm very happy to be here. I share the sentiments of all those who have spoken. This being an introductory remark, I'm just going to say one or two things. First thing is that I think there's always a tendency to look at the hardcore measurement parameters of housing success. If you look at home ownership penetration, if you look at housing deficit, you look at general environment, I think you'll easily say that probably we haven't done well. but I'm always an apostle of looking at the incremental successes that we have made over the years, and then look at the areas that we need to focus our attention going forward. So I think that even though home ownership penetration is just like 25%, housing deficit is in millions. I don't want to mention figures this morning, so I don't start any controversy, But I think we've made significant progress in this housing journey, And I'd like to first of all underscore the point made by Femi and General Rees in terms of the awareness about the importance of housing. I think one of the things that our advocacy has managed to do is to push housing to the center of discourse, both at the federal and state government levels. And you will have seen that even with the ongoing campaigns, quite a number of the candidates have also tried to ensure that housing is a key element of what they are trying to put forward. I think that is a significant progress that we have made, recognizing that housing is not just something that can be pushed under the table. It's not a subsidiary issue. It's supposed to be a front-burning developmental issue, which our government must pay attention to. So I think that that's a major plus for us in the industry. I think we've made significant progress in terms of housing delivery itself, because what we must understand is that quite a number of the players in this industry have recognized that in spite of regulatory challenges, they still have to create a framework for themselves to deliver. So even though we always joke that every developer, for example, is a local government on its own, you'll see that if you look at the trajectory of development over the past 5-10 years, developers have made significant progresses, even in terms of, in spite of the challenges that we face in that industry. I've seen significant, there are two areas that I just thought I want to really mention that we have seen exceptional progress. One is in terms of technology adoption. I think there's a general realization now that technology is going to be a key driver of housing development. And so if you look at the whole housing ecosystem, you look at what the young men have done in trying to transmute the sector into housing as a service, you cannot just but doff your heart for what has happened in terms of technology, both at the development end and at the management end of real estate and housing in this country. I'm not sure there are many countries who have made more progress, and I'm happy to be to play in that space at the global level, and I can confirm that the kind of progress that we have made in this respect, is quite significant. Housing finance is another area that we have made significant progress. Today we have sophisticated asset classes in the market. In fact, as I speak to you, there are like 4 major products coming into the market, and 2 of them are based on tokenized and unitized assets. One is going to be launched very soon. Of course, we can't be talking of that 5, 10, 15 years ago, but we've created a framework. We've created a few asset classes. We've seen that we need to take housing and real estate, to the capital market where you have access to a wider pool of investors rather than all what we have been doing, And I think that is a significant progress that we've made, and overall, if you look at all the innovations around housing finance, joint ventures, all forms of alliances that we see in the market today, I think it's because people have sat down and they've seen that whatever happens, we have to be able to drive this industry forward only, So I think that overall, I think we've made progress. Clearly there are areas that we need to pay attention to. I think that for me, and as I close, I'd like to mention that one of the areas which I think that we should also discuss, so let's just try to set agenda, is that how do we streamline policies, laws, and regulation? Now we have a lot of disparate initiatives, So In the past few days or weeks, we've seen what has happened with RSA and pension. Unfortunately, I'm not as optimistic as a lot of people that have commented on this. Because I think this policy has come at a very wrong time. Because if you want to stimulate the housing ecosystem, you also have to look at policies that will drive demand and supply at the same time. We have done this at the time when aggregate cost of construction has gone up by almost 60–70% in the past 3 years. So we are stimulating demand. Where is the supply going to come from? So those are I think we need to begin to be a lot more deliberate and intentional in aligning our policies, our rules and regulations, and generally not just work sometimes at cross purposes, which I think has been the bane of this sector in Nigeria. So I'm just going to stop here, and then when I have the opportunity again, I will express my opinion in the course of this event. Thank you very much again for inviting me. Thank you.
I must recognize you as one of our heroes of housing development. You are participated as a private sector, and you have done well. We appreciated what you have just told us about the development in the sector. At this point, I'll be going to Mr. Femi Oyedele. Mr. Oyedele, I want you to tell us, private sector versus government participation or government sector. How will you assess the performance? Also, our laws and policies. We don't mind if it can be part of your introductory remark.
Good morning, everybody. I wish you all happy Independence anniversary. Before I can assess our housing situation, I think I should set a standard, and the standard will be based on the already provided what I will call factors. One will be that housing is a human right, which Nigeria is a signatory to. Nigeria did not only sign that charter in 1948, Article 25. Nigeria also ratified it. That is one. Two, I want to say that housing is a dignifier, as we all know. If not, the colonial masters will not, first of all, the first institution set up in 1928 by the colonial master was the Lagos Executive Development Board. That shows that housing is a dignifier. And in the ordinance, it stated that Lagos State is a planned city. That's the ambition. That's the second factor that I'll be using in assessing the housing situation in Nigeria. The third will be that without housing, there cannot be sustainable development. That is, only housing can ensure economic, social, and environmental development of any nation. That's the third factor. And then, if we look at all these three factors, we can say that we have not really performed. We are lacking behind in terms of the fact that housing is a human right. Professor Nubi just told us that we have about 240 slums in Lagos alone. 240. I'm just wondering how many communities, if 240 communities can be described as slum in Lagos, then how many communities do we have? It means that we have more slums in Lagos than what I will call standard communities for human beings, standard estates. So in this ramification, we can say that we have not really done well after 62 years of independence. But if you look at it in the other way, with the institutions that government has provided, like the Federal Housing Authority, the laws, Land Use Act of 1978, the Employers Housing Scheme of 1979, and so on. The Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, and then in 1992, I think we have the Microfinance Act. So if you look at all these institutions, we can say that we have really tried, but we're not going to be relying on our attempts. We want to see the achievement, and what we are trying to, what we must do is that we must ensure that we belong to League of Nations in terms of housing. We have the necessary resources that can put us into an enviable position in our housing industry. But unfortunately, there are some factors which I will not mention now. In my closing remark, I will be discussing about those factors that is really plaguing our housing achievement. You know, human beings generally, we have 5 negative traits. The first one is that we are oppressive. That is first negative trait of human being. The second one is that we are greedy. If you allow human being to operate on his own, he will show that trait of greediness. That's why we have multiculturality in housing. It's only human being that is exhibiting that trait out of all the different kinds of animals. You see some human beings that will be keeping 5 homes. I mean homes, not investment properties. 5 homes. That is, they are keeping the keys of their home in Abuja, in Owerri, in Lagos, in London, and in Philadelphia. So just one human being keeping 5 homes to himself. We need to strengthen our laws against these practices that are inhibiting housing as a human right to all. So on this note, I want to say that we have a lot of things to do if we really want to show that housing is a human right in Nigeria. All over the world now, nations are seeing housing as a political statement. That's why we have a city like Canberra, a city like London, a city like Washington, D.C., city like Chicago, city like Cape Town, Joburg, and so on, including Abuja. When you go to Abuja, I'm always happy that we have Abuja in Nigeria. The government is really trying, and it's one of the cities in the world that we can say, yes, government is trying to upgrade the standard of living of human beings. But when you consider cities like Ibadan, Lagos, there's also a lot of abandoned properties by the federal government, the state government, and local government that we can put into use either as a social housing or as a low income housing facility. There are lots we can do, Mr. Adebayo. And I think in my second discussion, I'll be discussing more. Thank you.
Thank you, my brother. Mr. Femi Adewale, you are one of the heroes of housing development in Nigeria.
But we are quite pleased that we are on a trajectory that we established, which is building a Nigerian real estate institution that is based on some very sound and strong values and foundations. And that includes one, ensuring that it's an institution that is financially sustainable, has a financial structure that can see it survive and go forward in the long term, not just in a short time. Secondly, that it is profitable. And thirdly, there's an organization that achieves significant impact in what it does. And all of that are based on a set of values. The first one being innovation, and I'll talk a little bit more about what we have done or will continue to do on that platform. Integrity, partnerships, and getting the best people that we can do. So that's basically the journey that we're on. Is very early days, but we're thankful for the very initial successes to date. And again, I reiterate, 2 full years of operation. The fund by the end of 2022 will have invested in excess of 125 billion naira into housing delivery in Nigeria, by far the largest single investment into the supply side of the housing sector. That will account for just under 20,000 homes. So I think that's in terms of metrics. Alongside that, one of our key objectives is not just to build homes, but to create jobs. So we keep a very strong matrix in terms of jobs, direct jobs that are created on projects that the fund finances. And I think as at the end of Q3, we had done about 82 or 84,000 jobs across the 11 states where we are currently quite active. Now, in terms of very specific details, you probably know that the fund is actually a school of funds, 3 of which are currently operational. The first is the Affordable Housing Fund, which is designed to provide short to medium-term financing for private and public sector developers. The second is a Help to Own Fund, which is designed to contribute to the efforts that our partners in the Federal Mortgage Bank, NMRC, are making to ensure that Nigerians have access to a home finance product. And the third is a Rental Housing Fund. So in terms of talking about what we're doing and the facts behind them,